All right, so I'm going to do a bit of a wrap-up here on this session. And the goal for this session was to help understand how the curriculum elements get used on a course and how those elements link to each other and how we as instructors do our job and what our job entails. So that implies a bit of self-evaluation. And so that's the goal of this little series of questions that I'm going to offer you. So measuring success with the AIARE curriculum and with an instructor's approach. Okay, so how we approach our job as instructors. So these are 6 questions that see what you think. See if these might be useful for you as an instructor. Can this piece of information or skill help my students actually make a better decision? That's one that I think many of you have heard for years. I think that remains a bottom line issue of what do we keep and what do we not. How do we keep the cup from just exploding with information and keep it contained to what's relevant? So how can I make it relevant? The concept of hooking their attention, grabbing their attention so that I'm engaged with this material, linking that information. I'm not going to draw to a specific reference because I don't have the primary literature at hand, but Murph and I spent a day with a woman, or part of a day with a woman who is involved with education outside of our industry. And she mentioned so it's kind of gray in the sense that I can't pinpoint the exact source, but she said that brain researchers, whoever these people are, suggest that in order to retain a piece of information, it takes 17 different neural pathways to that one piece of information. So providing links within the curriculum, having curriculum elements that support each other, that tie to each other, bringing the field book, and actually it's now in the student manual. So the student manual, as you read through that thing this year, you'll see that there's excerpts from the field book examples in there. Drawing links between things, providing a case study that explains your take on this circumstance, giving them the chance to apply that information, giving them feedback to that piece of information, and then bringing it back up in the course close. We're getting pretty close to 17 times. So we can really improve the quality of the education. We can improve the take-home in the end by improving the linking that we do within the course. Okay, so that's a big question for us. How can I actually provide links for my students? And that has to be a conscious effort in order to get that done. Is this concept observable and practical given their experience? So trying to think through your students' eyes constantly. And that's something that's very hard for us to do. We all now see the world through our own eyes, and it's really tough to go back and say, well, how did I view this when I was in this person's shoes? That's not an easy thing for us to do. So the measuring component, trying to constantly check in, am I achieving this, checking for understanding, it's the only way that we can really have a good sense, because honestly we can't look through their eyes. How about giving the student the opportunity to apply this information, not just get to do it, but then get to do it and get feedback on what they've done. If we fall short of the mentoring step, then we do them a huge disservice. If we say, yeah, they got to do it, but if we don't actually tell them what we think of what they did, or ask them to tell us what they think of what they did, then we fall short of what AIARE considers the ideal instructor approach. So does this help them develop a realistic perspective of post-course actions appropriate for their experience base? So this ties into that course close element. And in the end, are they going to walk away from this course with a reference experience that's going to be valuable to them? If they look at it as just an avalanche course, we did things on that course, we made decisions on that course that were in the context of education, but that's not real life. That's not really how I would do it if I were to go backcountry skiing for fun with my friends. There's a whole different world of how we operate with our friends relative to how we do it on an avalanche course. If they walk away with that impression, then money down the tubes. They were exposed, and yet they have not embraced what the content and ideals of the course. So that third day, the model tour, where we go out there, they've got to walk away from that day feeling like, wow, we did this. It frames their experience of what normal backcountry travel should look like. We have the opportunity, and only one shot, to give them their sense of normalcy, to frame that experience. So constantly thinking about that in our own minds is a really key way for us as an instructor to check in on ourselves.